main entrance, and one to the south immediately outside the chapel and to the left. Our muster point is located to the northwest end of the car park near the Hindu Gardens. No emergency drills are planned for today. In the unlikely event of an emergency, please remain calm. Exit the building using the nearest exit doors and head towards the muster point. At the muster point, please check to see that everyone in your party is present and immediately inform a Belgrove's official if anyone is missing. Please note that all Belgrove's officials are easily identified by the company's ID badge. If for any reason you find yourself in need of any assistance, please do not hesitate to call on us. Thank you for your attention.
Good morning and welcome again to all. This will be read by Lloyd Percival. Lloyd.
Morning, everyone.
Sorry, and before you begin, we can now do it virtually.
Okay, I would just like to read the message from our SGI General Director, Mr. Arden Struss. Message of condolence to the family and friends of Keith Christian Risbrooke. From the bottom of my heart, I would like to express my sincerest condolences to each of you gathered here today to honor and celebrate the life of Keith Christian Risbrooke, especially for his children, Wendell, Rachel, Shad, Kieran, Jerome, Khadijah, and Johannes. Please accept my deepest sympathies. Chris was a treasured member of our world peace movement who practiced sincerely and genuinely. He wholeheartedly dedicated his life to the happiness of his family and friends, of his comrades in faith, such as driving members to various SGI activities and supporting and encouraging his friends, and proudly taking on leadership responsibility in the SGI USA. I understand that he encouraged many people with his warm smile and always spoke from his heart. There is no doubt that Chris' deep compassion inspired everyone around him and thus enveloped his life in boundless good fortune. On behalf of the SGI USA, I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation for his care and efforts. SGI President Isaac Ikeda shares as follows: because those who have died, in a sense, live on with us. Our happiness is naturally shared with those who have passed away. So, the most important thing is for those of us who are alive at this moment to live with hope and strive to become happy. By becoming happy ourselves, we can send invisible waves of happiness to those who have passed away. And we are always together, inseparable. Chris will be deeply missed, but he will also be with us in our prayers and in our hearts. Please continue to live out your lives with dignity and to realize great happiness and victory. Through our victories, we will express our appreciation to Chris and attest to the beautiful life he lived. I'm sending my heartfelt prayers for the eternal happiness of Keith Christian Risbrooke and for the prosperity and advancement of you all, his family and friends. With my deepest sympathies, Arden Struss, General Director, on this day, July 7th, 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lloyd. To eulogize Chris's legacy, his eldest daughter, Rachel, would share with us on her dad's life. Rachel.
Good morning, everyone. So, I am Rachel. one of the 7 of Chris's children. I thank you all for being here in remembrance of our dad. So to eulogize Mr. Keith Christian Chris Haslam Risbrooke. Yes, it is a whole mouthful. Chris was a non-frugal individual with a seeking spirit. He questioned everything about life, and it took him approximately 60 years to arrive at some understanding, albeit knowing that his views may very well be wrong. He grew up with 3 brothers and 1 sister. As was typical in the 60s, he was regularly at church on Sundays. He sang in the church choir and was half an acolyte, his words. His seeking spirit would sometimes question rituals, habits, and even some holy words. Regardless, he always loved God. Chris lived his life in curiosity and by trial and error. And from an early age, early as 10 years old, he had major life-altering situations. One occurred. Chris wanted to become a professional boxer. Yes, a boxer. He was fascinated by majestic-looking gymnasiums with its exercises, the horses and the swings. Short story, his boxing aspirations crashed with a right hand from an elder student. Results, lockjaw and immediate removal of gloves. Never again. In this instance, life lessons began pretty early for Chris. A lot more would follow as Chris would make his plans and stick to it. Chris would be Chris. One such plan was to head into the world of work as early as possible. He wanted to buy wontons and go to the movies. Had to have a job. An obstacle in this path was his principal in QRC. Chris saw that 5 passes were needed to enter the workforce, so 5 passes he sought after. Success, 5 passes, but that obstacle. At the time, Chris was 15 years old, courageous, argumentative, bold-faced, but he was no match for Mr. Laltu. Mr. Laltu was the principal of QRC. Mr. Laltu outpatienced Chris, and after the 3rd round of arguments on his preferred way forward, he threw in a proverbial towel. He took his ultra-innocence down a rung or 2 because he resorted to lying. Mommy, that man don't want me back in that school now. He just have me traveling up and down. Shucks. Chris's case was well prepared, well presented. Verdict, case dismissed. QRC, done. An important part in convincing the jury, his mother, was his intention to attend extramural to pursue economics and Spanish at A levels. This sequence of events provided a lesson. Perseverance seldom fails. He persisted and a victory. About 5 months after his 16th birthday, he got a job. A contractor in the paint biz hired him for $20 a week. TT, yeah? Okay. I wonder how many wontons he bought with that. Allow me to share a story from his youth. To mention a champion of his early adult life, as told by him. Arthur Sullivan, Sullo they called him, was an avid cyclist who never made it professionally. He was about 30 years senior to the oldest person in the group, but he was a guide, an alarm, and a source of encouragement. His early mornings carried a refrain, Haslam, Brooke, the posse moving. The names were interchanged depending on who he was waking up. Note that many times when you thought that the posse was moving, you would end up on the road with Sullo alone. People didn't get up yet. Then the routine, up Walcott Lane. Lloydie, Richie, the posse moving. And after about 3 more stops, there are about 12 to 15 young men with this dyed-hair older guy heading to the Queen's Park Savannah at 4:30 a.m. Some made 2 rounds of the Savannah, some would make 1. It may appear trivial, but Sullo had the young men fit for the purpose of life, which Chris has always acknowledged and appreciated. Within a year in the workforce, he had learned so much. He would get more opportunities in the private sector and buy many more wontons. Another pivotal challenge occurred in 1972. He had received an offer to join the public service. His salary at the time, $150. and his starting salary in the public service was $162. His boss at the time realized this and presented him with a new offer of $175 with a promise of more. Chris' decision was easy, or maybe not. His pride bubble burst the following morning on the way to work. Typically, he and his mother would have lively conversations on their morning bus rides. That morning started badly. Marcelin, Service Commission sent me a letter for education. Her eyes lit up. He continues, but I spoke to Mr. Archer, his boss at the time, and he offered me a raise. Silence. His mother found something through the window that captured her full attention. More silence. Then tears began running down her cheeks. Her next words were, "These private firms just kick you out without warning, boy. The public service is so secure." More silence and tears that ripped at his heart. He lost that fight. Turned down the offer and embarked on a 27-year journey through the public service. Education was interesting, and at some point education was interesting. At some point in time, the head of his department had an issue with the length of time he would stay in the restroom. His attempt at a comedy backfired when shortly after a restroom issue, he stood up and made a vocal request with his index finger on his forehead, "Miss, permission to go pee." Everyone laughed except Boss Lady. Result, a disciplinary letter and transfer to the examinations department, better known as Siberia. Ooh. His stay at Siberia started well. Another lesson learned: nothing lasts forever. Chris met his new boss with whom he had few uncomfortable interactions. He had this uncanny manner of standing behind you after lunch, silently looking at you work. One time he stood by Chris and Chris asked, "Yes, sir?" His response was, "No, son, you carry on," which he did. Second time, same story. Third time, Chris being Chris, Chris put down his pen and in response to his usual rhetoric, responded, "I'm taking a rest, sir." Thankfully, by then, Chris was already appointed. Short story, it led to another bad report: silent insubordination. If exams were Siberia, he was then transferred to Russia, John Donaldson, TI. Nobody wanted to go there, no pun intended. More life lessons were learned in John D. The encouragement to do tertiary education, his introduction to information technology. From John D., Chris would then go on to the Central Statistical Office. Within 2 months, he would have received a temporary computer programming appointment and later become a CSO officer. This was indeed a blessing, for which he was so very thankful. On the home front, he was probably seen as mediocre in terms of sports, but at some point in his public service career, he had big-time football player status. He was also captain of a win-ball cricket squad, and as well as captain of a table tennis team. Table tennis, that's where his passion in terms of sport was, evidenced by his nickname, Haslam. Chris exited the public sector and jetted off to Rand Credit Union, in which he was charged with establishing and managing an IT unit. Little did he know then, that was the beginning of a 17-year tenure doing what he enjoyed thoroughly. He was able to determine the IT way forward for the credit union, help members, and generally become part of a family-type staff, quite unlike the social distancing type in the public service. In a humble way, he felt that he would be able to fulfill the lyrics from one of his old favorite melodies. If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or song, if I can show somebody that he's traveling wrong, then my living shall not be in vain. And that he did. What followed was a series of universal blessings and many adventures under the umbrella of work. Another lesson was learned. There was so much naysaying from different quarters about his decisions, but at the end of it all, it was his decision to make, his story to write, and he did so with no regrets. There's so much more that can be said about Chris. Far more than this eulogy can do justice. But for now, I will close with more of his words to us, the kids, to his children. He said to us in some chronicles he wrote, "Know that you are responsible for your happiness, and it is good to seek happiness for others. You are the writer of your book. Parents, teachers, peers, and social media may influence a page or so, but you are the protagonist of your own life. You are all included in our thanks for the encouragement and support. And in his words, thanks and much thanks. Bless love. Thank you, guys.
I think we could do much better than that. That is so. Rachel, thank you so much. That was so crisp. Okay, so at this point in time, he had a favorite song with us in the SGI. You were hearing it as you came in, the waterfall. I'm going to ask for it to be played for 1 minute because we're short of time. So could we have that song? And I'm not sure if his second love, in terms of song, Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World, is going to be played. Could someone tell me? Thank you very much. At this time, we have open mic. So we'd ask persons to come up and share some reflections about Chris at this time. Folks, this is tight, so you have simply 1 minute, and we are going to do this for 7 minutes. So please, can I have the first person coming up?
1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Okay, folks, on behalf of the SGI USA, the men's division, I want to celebrate Chris being with us, a wonderful human being, very intellectual, a good narrator. We will miss him a lot, and may he have a quick return into very good circumstances. All the best to his loved ones. Thank you.
I just want to say that out of all the billion, trillion persons in the universe, I was fortunate enough to have met with Chris. I'm so fortunate to have met with Chris Risbrooke in this lifetime. He was a very caring, understanding, and straightforward individual. When it comes to the members, whatever he could have done, he would do. He used to religiously transport the members home safely after meetings. He was a great encourager, confidant, and supporter to anyone he interacted with. He was my friend and comrade in fate, and he will always be remembered for his bright, bubbly personality. He holds a very special place in my heart. I will continue to chant for him, and I know all the Buddhas as Ika Peak are there to receive him. So hi, my friend. You'll be missed by everyone in the SGI. I'll pray for his family to have the strength to carry on and be strong. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am representing the RAND Credit Union family the current general manager there. I would have worked with Chris for about 6 or 7 of his years there. And I need to say that he was an instrumental figure and piece of the RAN puzzle. A number of employees would have owed their careers to him. He was like the maxi conductor who'd always say, "It's a room for one more, always a room for one more." He always tried to help everybody looking for a job, any member. He was the de facto HR manager, although he was IT manager, he was the de facto HR manager, de facto credit manager, the shadow general manager. You know, he was everything. And when he left, it was a significant loss. The staff made him shed some tears. And in his passing, now it is still as if he was still a part of RAN, and his role and his contribution to the organization will always be remembered. Thank you very much.
Hi, morning. I met Chris at the SGI some years ago, which is our practice, Buddhist practice, and I don't think I could, at that age that I met him, and that's just a few years, I would have made a friend, but boy, did I make a friend. Did I meet someone that was compassionate, truth that come out of him. And when I heard of his passing by I think it was Michael, on Saturday morning I was driving. I was lost, and I only have a minute, but I was lost. And Sunday morning, boy, I was in total tears for about 3 or 4 hours. Chris was compassionate, truthful. Everything you could think about positive was Chris. And we discussed so many things about the SGI that we would have instituted that now, I don't know where I'm going to go with it or who I'm going to do it with, but I know that Chris would have been there for me and for this, our practice, which is the SGI. And I am going to miss him. And thanks to Jane, I visited Chris on many occasions while he was ailing. He never gave up. And thanks to Jane, I don't know, I haven't seen Jane. Where is she? Please? Jane, hi. Hi, thank you. I don't know how to thank you for being there, and you always had that smile on your face. Always had that smile on your face. And thanks again. Thanks for sharing Chris with us. Every one of you, family, friends. He was true Buddhist. True. Because as you said, protagonist of, you're responsible for you. And this is Chris. And everyone here is responsible for their life. Do not depend on anybody to make your life what you could make it. You have it within you. Just dig deep. This is how we, as members of SGI, Buddhism things, you have it in you. Every one of you. You could change the society. Every one of you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Danielle, and Chris was one of the most inspiring and encouraging people in my life. All of my love to his family and friends, and I will continue to pray for his beautiful transition. I'm honored to have been a friend of his, and I will miss him dearly.
Anyone else?
Morning. I wasn't going to say anything, but might as well. My name is Wendell. I'm Chris's eldest son. Thanks. It's great hearing all these great things about him. He's a great man. So I'll just say a couple of words. First, thank you, Jane, and thank you for bringing up with Jane and supporting him. But I'll just bring up a couple of words for those who know Chris really well. Manchester United, West Indies cricket, football. I came to his house, and one of the first things when I turned on the TV was just sports. He was my best friend, my confidant. He was dearly missed, and thank you all for coming here to send him off. So on behalf of me and my sister like to say the rest of the apple trees, we want to thank you.
Thank you so much, Wendell, and everyone else who spoke about Chris. At this time, Pastor Keith Lovelace, a friend of Chris, for 68 years, right? They bonded from preschool. Will now, he's literally his friend for life. He will now, in his own inimitable style, share some words on Chris.
Pleasant morning to everyone. It is amazing how life takes us through a journey. Two young men entered post-primary on the same morning 68 years ago. And because they both were named Keith, they were put to sit next to each other. We did not know it at the time, but that was the embryo of a lifelong friendship that would develop. We left Miss Lauder's school in Bella Road after 2 years, and we both went to St. Margaret's Boys Anglican School. And there, from class to class, we would sit and we would have fellowship. In those days, there were no secondary schools or junior secondary schools. We sat the common entrance exam in the second year after it was introduced. And you had to do well enough to pass for either Queen's Royal College, St. Mary's College, or Fatima College. Chris and I both passed for Queen's Royal College. We made our own bicycles along with his big brother Steve that we would ride to school with. And every morning we would meet down at the bottom of Carr Street where I live, and we would all ride to school together. We would come back home together. It was during the years at Queen's Royal College that I recognized that Chris was academically sound, whereas I was not. I more was interested in the arts, and it is from there that I began to develop my skill as an artist and graphic designer. I was miserable in school, but Chris was studious. And so he went on before me in that the first year in QRC, they kept me down, and he went up. But it did not break the bond. We left QRC, and we came out into young adulthood. During this time, I met a young lady. And I said to Chris, Chris, boy, I meet this girl. And I want you to see this girl and tell me what you think. Chris looked at her. Her name was Myrna. And he said, lovey boy, you get wife material. I married that young lady, and Chris was my best man. We spent 39 and a half years as husband and wife before she passed. When we went out, and I told him, I said, Myrna's friend is coming with us. And he met Donna, Rachel's mom. And Rachel became my first godchild. The bond that I had with Chris was not so much as a friendship, but it was as a brotherhood. He was welcome in my parents' home at any time. And what we had, he ate. I was welcomed at his parents' home at any time. And what he ate, I ate. I was very fond of his mom, his granny, and his grandpa. I remember one day we were playing cricket on Rogette Place, where we all gathered to Lime. And Grandpa was pushing his bicycle up the steps. And I was batting. And I struck the ball and licked his glasses straight off his face. Grandpa cut the ball in two and stopped the cricket. As we entered the world of work, Chris was in education. I was in A.B. Dick and Grell as a graphic artist. But many times I would leave and I would go down into education and check Chris out. When he was sent to Siberia, he said, Lovey, I'm going to talk to Pernell Welch. Pernell Welch was the principal of John Donaldson at that time. He says, I'm going to get you into John D. And Chris talked to Pernell, and Pernell did an interview with me. And he asked me one question. He says, why do you want to come here? I said, because I need to get my diploma. He says, but you are advanced for what we are doing here. I said, that's all right. I'll come. I went to John D. I spent 3 out of 4 years, the final 3, and I achieved my diploma. It was because of Chris that I got this. This is the type of individual that he was. Going forward, we never quarreled. It's amazing that 2 people could be friends for so long and yet still never have a misunderstanding. Because from my perspective, Chris was a very peaceful individual. He loved peace. He did not like war. But he would stand up for what he believed was right. And he was no pushover. During our young days, we would party. And we would party hearty to the sound of Groove Press. DJ Groove Press. Now you all may not know this, but DJ Groove Press was his big brother, Steve. one of the best DJs you can find in the land in those days. And we will fill the big house, and we will throw parties, and we will call it the Big Four in the big house. And it was a great time. One time when Chris made a trip abroad. Now, I heard about Manchester United a while ago from Wendell, but I'd like to make a little correction, because Chris and myself love Tottenham Hotspur. And Chris went and he met with Wendell, and this young man took him to a Manchester United football match in Old Trafford. Chris came back and he called me on the phone. He said, Lovey, he said, you're by yourself this time, you know. I said, what happened, boy? He said, partner, he said, Wendell carry me Old Trafford and I watch Manchester. He said, he's a Manchester fan. I said, all right, partner. And from then, Chris began to support Manchester United. I am Tottenham Hotspur up to today. Amen. "20 years ago, I entered into ministry, and my life changed. My Lyman days were over. My drinking days were over. And I had found a new passion. I called Chris and I spoke to him. And these were his words. I hope that that would not affect our friendship. I said, there is nothing on this earth that will affect our friendship. And many times I will call him and we would chat. Many times we had things at the church and I'd invite him and he would come. And then there was a tragic time in his life when his home flooded. And I got the message the following day from my brother. He called, he said, you hear what happened to Haslam? By the way he got the name Haslam is that there was a parlor on the bottom of St. Barb's where we will go and play pool. And the old man, Pa, he added on to the place and he put a table tennis board. And so we would go and play table tennis. In those days, Barbados had a table tennis maestro, left-hander, by the name of Orville Haslam. Jamaica, thank you, Rock. And Chris would beat everybody up going and coming day in, day out. And so he got that nickname, Haslam. It is from there we began calling him Haslam. But coming back to his tragedy, Buzz spoke to me and Buzz said, he said, you heard what happened to Haslam? I said, no. He said, he flooded out. When the waters had subsided, I went and I saw the devastation. And I said to him, Chris, when I come again, I'll not be coming with my hands swinging. I began to mobilize the church, and we were able to assist my brother in the efforts of restoring his home for him. And it was such a blessing, you know. And then we come to the point when he got sick. He got sick on my birthday, the 9th of May. Every year, Chris would call me at 7 a.m. to wish me happy birthday. That year, I got no call until about 8:30, when he said he was calling me from St. Helena's Health Center. And when we found out that he had the cancer and had to go to St. James, I said to him, I said, whatever day it is, whatever time it is, I will take you there. I stood by what I said, because in my time of grief and need, he was there. And in his time of need, I believe that there was no one better than myself to be with Chris. Today, I come to bid farewell to a man who was not a friend, but a brother from another mother. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Pastor Lovelace. And now we will have a brief on the Buddhist view of life and death, followed by thank you that will be extended from his partner, Jane. So, also I'd like to say, while comes up, that we have reached almost 9 o'clock. I think we are on 9 o'clock. So, I know the family needs to have time with Chris, so I think we could do all together. So while we speak to the Buddhist view of life and that, I know it's 9 o'clock, time for the viewing, because 10 after 9 he goes, all right, he will leave this room. So Michael, can you please first come, and then Jane followed afterwards, while the family view the body.
Pleasant morning. While you are viewing this body, I would like to bring a Buddhist perspective on the cycle of life and death. Our attitude and beliefs regarding death have a great influence on our approach to life. There is perhaps no greater grief than being parted from a loved one by death. And though we know with the surest certainty that our time here is limited and that no one can escape the impermanence of life, this does little to prepare us for the shock of death or to help us approach our own inevitable separation from this world. Since the beginning of time, humans have pondered the following questions.
Okay, so he's gonna wrap his, because Chris has to leave at 5 after, not 10 after. So he's just gonna wrap, and then Jane will give her thanks, heartfelt thanks.
Yes, I was saying, since the beginning of time, humans have pondered the following questions. 1, what is life? 2, why are we born? 3, why we must die? 4, what value can we create from the fragile existence? From the Buddhist perspective, life and death are two phases of a continuum. Life does not begin at birth, nor end at death.
Morning all. Keith Christian Risbrooke. Do not leave out the Christian and call him Chris. Yes. His first encounter with this great practice was in 2012 in New York. Thanks, Molly. He loved that Buddhism accepts you just as you are. Pastor Lovelace, thanks for your friendship, dedication, prayers, and commitment for taking Chris to St. James for treatment. Chris was discharged from Mount Hope Hospital in May 2021 with his medical papers stating he had stage 4 prostate cancer. To Nurse Janelle, who speedily arrived at Mount Hope Hospital to assist with locating him, thank you. Dr. Kelly Allen Mike, his radiation oncologist, anytime Chris emailed her, there was always a prompt response. Dr. Kisoon, Dr. Sylvester, Nurse Walcott at the Hess Benjamin unit in St. James, thank you. Dr. Gertz, his urologist at Medical Associates, anytime Chris called, he answered. Nurse Sintra for making the necessary appointments, thank you. Dr. Ramtahal for his many home visits and guidance about the process upon death. Cheryl with good luck at Medical Associates willingly paid for his MRI when his bank card was forgotten. To Robin and Deborah, thank you for the many calls and almost weekly visits. To RAND Credit Union Board of Directors, committees, management, and staff, past and present, for their immediate support and concern upon hearing of his health challenges. Thanks to all my family for their unwavering support. Special thanks to Bernadette, Shelley, and Patsy during his transition phase on July the 2nd. Thanks to the Roseman Drive and Ratton Street communities for their support. To his apples, thanks for the support. Thank you. Etched in your memory will be the unique conversations, messages, and interactions with Chris. Cherish them. He always spoke of his children, grandchildren, and expressed feelings of joy and happiness with your family life and accomplishments. This happiness and joy was reinforced by the teachings of Buddhism, which he dearly loved. He was happy. Thanks to the SGI members who called and continuously supported Chris. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you all for being here. We will now go to Daimoku Sancho, where we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo 3 times. No, we can stay in our seats because our altar has to stay where it is. And then as Chris is moved to the other room, we will keep chanting. Okay? So.
Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam yo ho banga kyo, 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 nam yo ho banga kyo. Nam yo ho banga kyo, 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 nam yo ho banga kyo. Nam yo ho banga kyo, nam yo ho banga kyo, nam yo ho banga kyo, nam yo ho banga kyo. Nam yo ho banga kyo, nam yo ho banga kyo.
Yo nam yo ho renge 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 Nam yo ho renge yo nam yo ho renge yo nam yo ho renge Nam yo ho renge yo 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 nam yo ho
you.